What's up, everybody? Michael Elefante here. Today we're talking about the investment landscape with short-term rentals. And for those who are not familiar, short-term rentals, controversially to a long-term rental where you have tenants typically leasing an apartment or a house for a 12 to 24 month period. Short-term rentals are what you'll see on sites such as Airbnb or VRBO or HomeAway, and people buy these investment properties and then rent them out to guests or as a vacation home or for maybe weekend or week-long, maybe month-long stays and so forth. In some previous videos, I've talked about how COVID or the coronavirus has drastically impacted the entire travel industry, not just short-term rentals, but airlines, hotels, major cities. I live in Nashville, and tourism is a major part of the city and the state, and also the tax dollars collected from sales around the city contributes a lot to the state's initiatives and Davidson County's initiatives as well. So there has been a drastic impact to tourism, let alone all the other impacts that the virus has had throughout the world. And so after a few months, I want to talk a little bit about, has travel picked back up? What am I seeing here in Nashville as far as bookings and new inquiries for people looking to take a vacation, whether it be in July or maybe 6 to 12 months from now? And is now the right time to invest your hard-earned money in something like a short-term rental? So before we get into all that good stuff, guys, if this is your first time watching or if you've watched several times before, please hit the subscribe button below. I really do appreciate it. And again, if you get to the end of the video and you enjoyed this content, please hit the like button. It really helps, again, with the YouTube algorithm, and it helps me and get my content out to folks like yourself who are interested in pursuing real estate as investments and financial freedom and other great topics around personal finance and personal and family success. So without further ado, I'm going to talk to you guys about a few points that I've noticed recently over the past few months that I think are going to drastically change the landscape for new or seasoned investors who are able to weather the storm. So you can compare this to investing through economic downturns in the stock market, right? Typically, you want to buy low and sell high, but what do most people do? They're too nervous while the market's at maybe all-time lows or 20% down off all-time highs, and so they will wait for the market to come back up. And then when it gets to a new high, they finally feel comfortable to invest, and then it goes up a little bit, and then it tanks eventually, and then they sell at the bottom. It's just human nature. It's the fight or flight method, and most people take the flight. So same thing in real estate, and when there's an impact, especially in short-term rentals or again Airbnbs, when the travel industry is impacted, the amount of bookings go down drastically because right now people have been so isolated and quarantined for the past several months that there has been little to no travel across the world, let alone just the US. But now after a few months, some travel restrictions are lifting, businesses are starting to be able to open up. We've sort of flattened the curve. I know it's kind of been a little bit rocky. People are afraid of a second wave, but there is many new drugs hitting the market to help treat infected patients and get through the virus, and there is several different vaccines going through trials right now as well that many think will hopefully be available in 2021, maybe earlier, maybe later. I really don't know. I'm not a medical expert, but that's just what I see on the news. So here are a couple of points that I think it is a terrific time between now and the end of 2020 to invest in either your first, maybe second, third, fourth, fifth, whatever, short-term rental property. Number one is as people start to get back out there and start traveling again, a lot of the normal hotel goers and maybe Hilton or Marriott Platinum members and all their family members are not going to want to stay in hotels. Why? Because they're literally a giant box filled with hundreds, if not thousands of people at a time. There's a lot of common spaces and interaction with the folks in the lobby, the front desk, cleaners coming in every single day during your stay to do turnover. So they're touching things, breathing in your room. People are going to feel very uncomfortable, especially people maybe, obviously with underlying health conditions, but older people who still travel a lot either for work or leisure, but they're no longer going to want to stay in a hotel. So what are they going to turn to? They're going to look for Airbnbs or whatever site they're looking on, HomeAway, VRBO again, that they can use keyless entry which most property owners like myself have. So when guests check in, they don't have to meet anyone at the lobby. They don't have to exchange credit cards and touch everything that 100 or 1,000 other people have touched that day. And they're able to just walk right in, check themselves in, enjoy their stay peacefully, and when they leave, they do a self-checkout, and then the cleaners come in, clean the place, get it ready for the next group of guests, whenever that may be. The past few years has been exploding in the short-term rental market because Airbnb has really dominated as far as name recognition, but people still rent on HomeAway, VRBO, and a ton of other sites, as I mentioned earlier. So there have been millions of listings pop up across the world. But a lot of people are in over their heads and may not understand how to financially, weather storms that we're in right now. Obviously, this is unprecedented and just a crazy time that nobody really foresaw coming. But a lot of these folks who didn't have, reserves of cash in the bank to weather a few months, mortgage payments and expenses are really taking a beating right now. And instead of trying to weather the storm, again, just like the stock market, when the stock market tanks, people panic. So a lot of people who were not prepared for a long-term investment and able to weather storms, similar to this, they are either putting their house for sale or apartment for sale, whatever they're renting out on Airbnb, or they're switching it immediately to a long-term lease. And the reason this is important for you as a new investor and getting into the STR market, and when I say STR, it's short for short-term rental, is there are going to be much less competition, not only from hotels, but there's going to be less short-term rentals listed on Airbnb because they're going to opt to take the lesser cash flow or income each month in order for what they feel is a more secure investment, because they can lock in a tenant for 12 months and kind of sit back and breathe for a minute. So I know several people here in town that I know and I've worked with on past properties. They have opted for the strategy. And then there's several other ones that I know that have reached out to me and say, hey, if you know anybody interested, let me know. I'm having our rental go up and we're going to list it for sale here in the coming months. So I've seen several for sale signs go up for owners of short-term rentals that are looking to get out of their investments, because again, it's kind of that fight or flight mentality, and everyone's looking to jump ship because they're so scared. They're getting scared out of the market right now. So this presents a prime opportunity for you. There's not only less competition from hotels, but there's definitely a drastic drop in amount of STRs on the market right now because everyone is either ditching them and selling them or transitioning to a long-term rental. Now, in addition, a lot of these properties that I've seen listed for sale for the first time in the past month or two, there is a drastic decrease in amount of investors as people were sitting on the sidelines for the past few months holding their capital, waiting to invest in new properties because they wanted to see how the coronavirus was going to play out. So over the next maybe 6 to 12 months might present an opportunity to where you can get a great deal. I've seen prices come down as much as $100,000 on rental properties right up the street here. So it might present a prime opportunity for people to get in at a fair price instead of having to compete with 10 other offers, within 24 hours of that property being listed for sale. So while everyone else is out there on the sidelines waiting, you could scoop up a great income producing property. And when travel is back full steam and everybody else is trying to get back in again, when the market starts getting back up, just like the stock market, they're going to pay a premium for those properties. Meanwhile, you have a sweetheart deal and you're raking in the cash flow again when travel picks back up. And lastly, and probably the most important point I want to make today is people have been quarantining and locked up and have canceled all their travel and bachelorette parties. We've had weddings, that have been postponed by friends, out a year or so, and all sorts of celebrations and vacations that are postponed or canceled altogether. And not just domestically, I'm talking about all travel across the world. So how does this present a great opportunity for you guys in the next few months? Well, let's talk about first how a lot of these canceled or delayed trips are going to get rebooked, and a lot of these folks are still going to be hesitant to travel over the air. So they're going to, instead of flying to maybe across the world to a destination that they were planning a 2-week trip, they may result in somewhere where they can drive 5 to 10 hours. Example, a city like Nashville, where they want to come just enjoy some live music or go to the mountains maybe, or go to a lakefront property or the beach. They just need to get out of the house that they've been crammed in. They have cabin fever from staying in here, super claustrophobic. They spend way too much time around maybe the same people, and they just need to get out and have a vacation. So again, these people are going to be looking for not hotels, but they're going to be looking for short-term rentals in these specific locations that they feel more, safer to travel to. We've seen a massive uptick in bookings and inquiries for July onward. So in the past 5 days, we've had more bookings than we've had in the past 3.5 months alone. So we've seen a drastic uptick in bookings, and we actually just listed our newest property last night, and we already had 2 bookings on that property within the first 24 hours. So that is a very, very encouraging sign that travel is starting to come back. People are feeling more comfortable getting out and traveling and getting back into the normal swing of things. We've also had several folks reach out that had canceled their trip to Nashville. We've had several bachelorette parties that have had to cancel their trip in the spring, push their wedding back, and have reached out and now booked with us, which is super exciting because they can still enjoy Nashville. It's a super, big hot spot for both bachelor and bachelorette parties. So these people are looking to come back because they need to do their bachelorette or bachelor trip before their wedding. If they push their wedding back 6 months, they still got to get that trip in. So we've had a massive influx in bookings for bachelor and bachelorette parties, which is awesome. So here are some key areas to invest in and where I'm going to be looking in the next 6 to 12 months. Nashville as travel's picked back up, so I'm considering looking probably in the next 6 months at another property here in Nashville. But I know of several investors who are investing in the Smoky Mountains, down in along the beaches in the Panhandle of Florida, and along the beaches on the East Coast, and I'm sure similar, which I'm less familiar with, out on the West Coast. But think about this. Again, people are looking to get out of their house, but they're looking for maybe a more secluded vacation to where they could still, spend time with loved ones, friends, family, but they're not going to be in crowded areas. People aren't going to be going to New York City as much or San Francisco again. So they're going to be looking for these experiences. And I've looked at several actually vacations for my wife and I to go on ourselves, and lakes and mountains, cabins, chalets, all that stuff are booked solid. We've had a very, very hard time finding a place, even as far out as mid-September, that will accommodate us for the locations that we've been looking. So that's just a sign that people are booking travel now. And while there may not be booking places that are, super hotspots like New York City, San Francisco, Chicago, the major cities, they are itching to get out, and they're looking for those areas that they can just go and spend time with the people that they want to be around and not be cooped up in their own house. So again, if it were me, I would suggest that y'all look at, mountain cabins, lake houses, beach houses, and maybe even condos in these areas that, you can maybe get a sweetheart deal on if you have some money saved up. And then there's another awesome strategy, which we talked about a few videos ago, but I think I'm going to dedicate next week's video directly to this, which is called short-term rental arbitrage or Airbnb arbitrage. And that is a way to invest in short-term rentals with less risk and with little or even no money alone. You don't have to worry about hard money loans or things like that. And I'll explain how that strategy works in our next video. Now, lastly, this is for folks out there who do have rental properties and are watching this video, how we've been creative in order to stay afloat during this time. So we've basically broken even just about every month since April. So April, May, June, we're breaking even. Actually, we've made money in May and we're gonna make money in June. And in July, we're gonna kind of take back off and start earning pretty good cash flow. And then the months beyond, we're very confident that we're gonna earn strong cash flow again. So some things that we did, and since we've seen a big uptick in bookings. So we changed our cancellation policy from strict to moderate. And what this allows is, instead of guests basically having to commit to a place and knowing they would only get half or none of their money back, if you're familiar with the policies, we switched to a moderate policy, which allows them to get a full refund. I think it's up to 7 days before check-in. So that gives them the peace of mind to say, hey, I'm gonna book a travel with my group of friends, and we're gonna go to Nashville, we'll go to the mountains, we'll go to a lake, go to the beach, whatever, and we'll have the ability to cancel if maybe there is a second wave with the coronavirus and we don't feel comfortable to travel at that time. That's okay with me because I know those people will book our place, and if they are able to travel, they will. They're not gonna cancel last minute just to book another place. Now, there is a cool trick that Airbnb had implemented, which is awesome for both hosts and guests. And this was for really any cancellation policy. You could do a better of kind of option for guests. So what you can do, for example, is the moderate policy. Again, you can say, hey, we'll give you the moderate cancellation policy. You can cancel within 7 days of check-in, you get a full refund. Or you can book the non-refundable option and you can get 10% off your entire stay. So we've had actually several groups opt for the non-refundable option because, hey, they're saving 10%. If they're booking 3, 5, 7 days and it's an expensive trip, 10% off is a lot of money, especially for our 4-bedroom place that sleeps 12 plus people. So great option for the guests. It also gives us assurance that we're going to get paid as hosts, and everybody wins in that scenario. Next, we've actually been giving significant discounts for longer stays. So through April and May and the beginning of June, we've had several 1 to 3 and even one 4-week long stay. And while we weren't really making any money, we were just trying to make enough to cover costs, at least pay the mortgage, and not be cash flow negative, which has been great. So it's stayed afloat. Again, while other people are dropping out or changing their short-term rentals to a more long-term rental strategy, we're going to be prepared for when travel is picking back up, which we're seeing it's happening right now. We're going to be prepared, and there's going to be less short-term rentals on the market, and we're going to clean up. We're going to make so much more money than we probably would have ever thought, post-coronavirus, because we're going to have weathered the storm, and we're going to still be providing a great experience for our guests. And again, even if you drop your prices and provide, big discounts for longer stays, more bookings equals more reviews, and the more bookings and reviews you have in conjunction lifts your rankings on Airbnb search significantly. So you'll also get the little, diamond in the Airbnb search for your property that says this is a rare find. So that's good because, the more your place is booked and the more positive reviews you have, it gives guests confidence to say, I'm just going to instantly book that place because one, it was, a top of the search when I searched the location I was looking to book, and it has tons of reviews, and this host must be doing something right. So I'm going to go ahead and book with them. I feel confident in that. So again, you guys just have to play your cards right and think longer term. How do I weather the storm right now with coronavirus? Because again, investing in real estate is not a quick win. While you can make tremendous and massive amounts of cash flow on some months, long term is our focus. So we want to achieve financial freedom long term. So again, we need to weather the storms. And while other people bow out at the bottom, of wherever the economy's at or market's at, we're going to weather that storm and think long term. And when the market comes back, everyone's going to try to jump in while prices are, at all-time highs. And we're going to be sitting pretty. And again, we're going to have more bookings, more reviews. So we'll be at the top of the search and we'll be good to go. So that's all. I hope you all enjoyed the video. Please do like and subscribe below. It means a lot to me, guys. And looking forward, I'll talk to you guys a little bit about Airbnb or short-term rental arbitrage next week. If you have little to no money to invest but are curious how that works, I highly encourage you to watch that video. I learned about this recently, and it is an awesome way to immediately start making cash flow, again, with little to no money. So tune in next week. Thanks for watching, guys. Catch you next time.